All right, so today we're going to be diving into some seriously creepy territory, you know?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about Shelob,
Yeah.
that giant spider from the Lord of the
Oh,
Rings.
yeah.
But we're going beyond just a spider here. We've
Yeah.
got some excerpts here that really dig into, her origins,
Well,
her
yeah.
symbolism, her impact on the story.
I'm excited.
We're talking primordial beings,
Okay.
strategic layers,
Yeah.
and some seriously thought-provoking questions about evil in Tolkien's world.
Well, what's immediately interesting to me is Shelob's lineage.
Oh,
I mean, most people, they knew her as this giant spider,
yeah.
right? But she's not just any spider.
Uh-huh.
She's a direct descendant of Ungoliant.
Ungoliant. Now, that's a name that sends chills down my spine.
Right.
Wasn't she one of those primordial beings from, like, the really early days
Yes.
of Middle-earth?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're not talking your average primordial being either.
Right.
Ungoliant was so consumed by darkness and hunger
Yeah.
that she literally devoured light and even tried to devour the world itself.
Whoa. Okay, so we're talking a level of evil that goes way beyond
Oh, yeah.
Sauron's ambitions here.
Way beyond.
It's almost like a force of nature,
That's a great point.
wouldn't you say?
Ungoliant represents a sort of fundamental, chaotic evil,
Okay.
a darkness woven into the very fabric of existence.
Yeah.
And Shelob,
Yeah.
though a more localized terror,
Mm-hmm.
inherits that same primal darkness,
Yeah.
that insatiable hunger.
It makes you wonder what Tolkien was trying to say about the nature of evil.
Yeah.
Like, we tend to think of it as this calculated, strategic force, like
Right.
Sauron in his quest for domination.
Yeah.
But then you have Ungoliant and Shelob,
Right.
who represent something much more ancient, instinctual,
Like all
and
our-
arguably more terrifying.
It is more terrifying.
Because it's so unpredictable
You can't reason with it.
and uncontrollable.
It's exactly. It's like the difference between a carefully planned invasion
Uh-huh.
and a sudden earthquake.
Yeah.
Both are destructive,
Yeah.
but in very different ways.
Yeah. And the fact that this primal evil is passed down through lineage
Right.
is particularly interesting. Like,
Yeah.
what does that tell us about the possibility of escaping darkness in Tolkien's world?
Escape is tough.
Okay, so we've got this ancient evil lineage.
Yeah.
But let's talk about where Shelob sets up shop.
Okay.
Her lair in Torek Ungol.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a random cave,
Oh, absolutely not.
right?
Tolkien describes it as this nightmarish labyrinth filled with webs, reeking of decay,
Ugh.
suffocating you with dread.
Uh,
It's like taking every creepy crawly, every bit of darkness and decay you can imagine,
oh my God.
and multiplying it by 1,000.
Just the thought of it makes my skin crawl. But it is interesting, though.
Mhm.
This lair,
Yeah,
strategically placed on one of the few paths into Mordor,
right.
makes Shelob a sort of gatekeeper, even if she isn't officially allied with Sauron.
Right. This raises another fascinating point.
Okay.
You have Sauron, the master planner, this incredibly strategic evil.
Right.
And he tolerates this ancient, monstrous spider
Yeah, I know.
practically on his doorstep
Yeah.
because she serves his purposes.
It seems like a bit of a paradox.
It is.
You'd think Sauron would want complete control
He would.
over everything in Mordor,
Right.
but maybe he recognizes that.
Yeah.
Even the most meticulous evil
Oh, yeah.
can benefit from a bit of chaos and primal fear.
For sure.
I mean, who dare cross Shelob if they didn't have to?
It's a brilliant strategy if you think about it.
Yeah.
A sort of outsourcing of terror.
Yeah.
Sauron uses Shelob's instinctual nature to his advantage,
Great.
strengthening his defenses without having to directly manage her.
Right.
And this gets to the heart of why Tolkien is so compelling as a writer.
Yeah.
He's constantly making you think about the different shades of evil, the complexities of power and control.
Totally. But let's move on to Shelob's role in the Two Towers.
Okay.
We know she's the terrifying obstacle Frodo and Sam have to overcome thanks to Gollum's manipulation.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remind us what happens in that encounter?
Oh, absolutely.
And why it's so significant?
Well, Gollum leads them right into Shelob's web,
Yeah.
hoping she'll devour Frodo and he can get the ring back.
Right.
Tolkien's description of the encounter is truly chilling.
Yeah.
full of suspense and psychological horror.
Oh, yeah.
He plays on our natural fear of spiders,
Right.
of darkness,
Mm.
of being trapped,
Yeah.
to create one of the most memorable moments in the story.
The scene where she stings Frodo
Yes.
and wraps him in her webs,
Oh, yeah.
leaving him for dead, it's
Yeah.
incredibly intense.
It's so intense.
But of course, we have Samwise the Brave to the rescue.
Sam to the rescue.
Sam's fight against Shelob is so iconic.
It is.
It's where we really see his inner strength and courage shine. He's not a warrior, he's a gardener. But his love for Frodo and his refusal to give up hope propel him to overcome unimaginable fear.
It's incredible.
It's a classic example of Tolkien's belief in the power of ordinary people
Oh, yeah.
to do extraordinary things when driven by love and loyalty.
That's the theme.
But it also highlights Frodo's increasing vulnerability.
Yes.
Carrying the ring is taking its toll on him.
Absolutely.
What do you make of that contrast?
It's brilliant, isn't it? You have Sam
Yeah.
representing the resilience of hope rising to the challenge. And then you have Frodo succumbing to the weight of his burden,
Right.
becoming almost helpless against Shelob.
Yeah.
Tolkien is showing us that even the strongest heroes have their limits.
And what's fascinating is that Shelob isn't just a plot device or a mindless monster.
Right.
She embodies these deeper themes, like corruption,
Yeah.
entrapment,
Yes.
the darker aspects of nature.
Exactly. Think about those webs. They're more than just physical traps.
Right.
They symbolize being caught in a web of fear, despair, or even temptation.
Right.
Like Gollum's obsession with the ring.
Yeah.
And then there's that lineage that primal darkness passed down from Ungoliant.
Right.
Shelob isn't just evil.
Uh-huh.
She's a force of nature that preys on weakness
Yeah.
and embodies the untamed wildness that can consume even the most determined traveler.
There's so much to unpack there,
Yep.
and I'm particularly interested in
Okay.
how Shelob's nature contrasts with Sauron's. We've touched on it a bit,
Yeah.
but I think it deserves a deeper dive.
Okay.
But for now,
Yeah.
let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
Okay.
Shelob is more than just a giant spider.
Right.
She's an embodiment of ancient, instinctual evil, and her presence raises fascinating questions
Yes.
about the nature of darkness
It does.
and the possibility of hope in Tolkien's world.
Absolutely.
We'll be back soon to continue our exploration.
Can't wait.
So stay tuned.
All right. Welcome back.
So before we went off, you were drawing a really insightful comparison
Yeah.
between Shelob and Sauron.
Right.
And it made me think about how Tolkien uses these different villains
Yeah.
to paint such a complex picture of evil.
He does.
Like, we tend to think of evil as this one big thing.
Yeah.
But Tolkien shows us
Uh-huh.
that it can be deliberate and strategic like Sauron,
Right.
or primal and instinctual like Shelob.
Uh-huh.
And in a way, they almost represent two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. Sauron, with his grand schemes and lust for power,
Right.
represents a kind of calculated, almost intellectual evil.
He's like the classic image of the Dark Lord, right?
Yeah.
Cunning, ambitious, and utterly ruthless in his pursuit of power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you have Shelob,
Right.
this ancient being driven by pure, unthinking hunger.
Right.
She's not concerned with conquering nations or bending people to her will.
Yeah.
She just wants to feed,
Uh-huh.
to survive,
Yeah.
to protect her territory.
It's almost as if she represents a more fundamental form of evil.
It is a fundamental form.
Something that's been around since the beginning of time. Sort of like a force of nature, as we talked about earlier.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
It's like comparing a hurricane to a carefully planned military invasion.
Okay.
Both are destructive.
Right.
Both cause suffering.
Yeah.
But in very different ways.
Right.
One is a deliberate act of aggression,
Yeah.
while the other is a force of nature,
Right.
indifferent to the lives it disrupts.
And that indifference,
Yeah.
that lack of malice is what makes Shelob so terrifying in a way.
Absolutely.
Like, you can't reason with a hurricane.
Nope.
You can't negotiate with it.
You can't.
You can only try to survive its fury.
Right.
And it's the same with Shelob.
Exactly.
She's not evil in the same way Sauron is evil.
Right.
She's operating on a completely different level,
Yeah.
one that's almost beyond our comprehension.
And I think that's part of what makes Tolkien's world so compelling. He's showing us that evil isn't just one thing.
Yeah.
It can take many forms,
Mhm.
from the grand schemes of a dark lord
Right.
to the primal urges of a monstrous spider.
Yeah.
And each form presents its own unique challenges and dangers.
This is making me think about the encounter with Shelob. from a new angle.
Yeah.
It's not just a scary obstacle for Frodo and Sam to overcome. It's a clash between two very different types of heroes.
Absolutely.
And two very different types of evil.
Exactly. We have Frodo bearing the weight of the ring, battling against the seductive whispers of Sauron's more deliberate evil.
Right.
And then we have Sam facing down Shelob.
Yeah.
This embodiment of primal fear and darkness.
And both encounters are transformative, right?
They are.
Frodo is pushed to the brink of despair, forced to confront the seductive power of the ring.
Right.
And Sam discovers a wellspring of courage and strength he never knew he had.
That's a brilliant observation. It's as if Tolkien is showing us the different ways that evil can test us. The different ways we can rise to meet those challenges.
And let's be honest.
Okay.
Sam's fight against Shelob is one of the most inspiring moments in the entire story.
It is incredible.
Here's this ordinary hobbit,
right?
A gardener by trade.
A gardener?
Going up against this ancient, monstrous creature.
He's amazing.
He's armed with Sting and the File of Galadriel, yes.
Okay.
But it's his inner strength, his love for Frodo, that ultimately allows him to triumph.
You're right. It's a beautiful testament to the power of love, loyalty, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable terror.
It makes you think about what it truly means to be a hero.
It does.
It's not always about grand gestures or feats of strength. Sometimes it's about the quiet courage to stand up to your fears, to protect those you love, even when the odds are stacked against you.
And that brings us back to this idea of Shelob as a catalyst for growth. She's not just a monster to be defeated.
Right.
She's a force that tests our heroes.
Yeah.
Forcing them to confront their deepest fears and emerge stronger on the other side.
It's like a classic hero's journey, right?
It is.
The descent into darkness, the confrontation with the monster, and the triumphant return, forever changed by the experience.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not just Sam who is transformed by the encounter.
Right.
Frodo's vulnerability in that moment is also significant.
Okay.
We see the toll that carrying the ring has taken on him.
Yeah.
How it's eroded his strength and left him susceptible to Shelob's attack.
It's a stark reminder that even the bravest, most resilient heroes have their limits.
That they do.
And that carrying a burden as heavy as the One Ring can leave even the most noble soul vulnerable to darkness.
Absolutely. It sets the stage for the final leg of their journey.
Right.
Where Frodo's inner struggle with the ring intensifies.
Yeah.
Culminating in that final confrontation at Mount Doom.
It's fascinating how Tolkien weaves these different threads together.
He does.
Showing us the interconnectedness of characters, events, and themes.
Yeah.
Shelob's attack isn't just a random encounter.
Right.
It serves a larger purpose.
Absolutely.
Pushing both Sam and Frodo towards their destinies.
And it adds another layer to Shelob's role in the story.
Right.
She's not just a villain to be vanquished. She's a force of nature.
Yeah.
A catalyst for growth.
Right.
And a symbol of the enduring power of primal darkness.
Okay, so we've talked about the different faces of evil.
Yeah.
The transformative power of facing your fears.
Right.
And how Shelob acts as the sort of crucible for our heroes.
Yes.
But I'm curious about something else.
Okay.
The way Tolkien describes her visually, he really paints a vivid picture
He does.
of this monstrous ancient being.
Yes.
What details stand out to you?
One detail that always chills me is the description of Shelob's eyes.
Yeah.
Like great globes of poison. It's such a small detail, but it speaks volumes about her nature.
It's not just her size or her fangs that are terrifying.
Right.
It's the malice, the cold, calculating intelligence you sense behind those eyes.
Exactly. It makes her more than just a mindless beast. She's a predator, cunning and patient.
Yeah.
Utterly ruthless in her pursuit of prey.
And I think that visual detail, those eyes like globes of poison, also plays into the symbolic interpretation of Shelob.
Right.
She represents this corrupting influence.
Yes.
A darkness that can seep into your soul and poison your thoughts.
It's like she's staring right into your soul, seeing your weaknesses, your fears, and preying on them.
Speaking of ancient, I'm curious how Tolkien incorporates Shelob's age into her depiction. He constantly emphasizes that she's older than Sauron.
Yes.
That she's a remnant of a bygone era.
It's as if she embodies the shadows of Middle-earth's history.
Right.
The ancient evils that lurk beneath the surface of the world.
It adds to her mystique, doesn't it?
It does.
She's not some random spider that Sauron happened to find.
Right.
She's a creature out of time.
Uh-huh.
A force of nature that has existed for centuries.
Yeah.
Feeding on those who stray into her web.
It makes you wonder what she's witnessed over the ages.
Oh, God.
What secrets she holds in her ancient memory.
Ooh. Now that's a chilling thought.
I know.
To be caught in her web and have her probe your mind.
Huh?
Sifting through your memories, your fears, your darkest secrets.
It's creepy.
It's a reminder that darkness can run deep.
Yes.
That there are corners of the world where ancient evil still holds sway.
Absolutely.
And it brings us back to that central question we touched on earlier.
Okay.
What does it truly mean to defeat evil?
Right.
Is it enough to vanquish the Dark Lord?
Yeah.
Or do these more fundamental primal forces remain lurking in the shadows, waiting for their moment to resurface?
It's a question that Tolkien leaves open for us to ponder.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's part of the enduring power of his work.
Right.
It challenges us to think beyond simple answers.
Yeah.
To confront the complexities of good and evil. And to recognize that the struggle for balance is an ongoing one.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
Her origins,
Yeah.
her symbolism, her impact on the characters,
Right, yeah.
those chilling visual details,
Yes.
and the broader questions she raises about the nature of evil.
For sure.
But our journey isn't over yet.
Okay.
Stay with us.
Okay.
As we continue exploring the depths of Shelob's world. Welcome back. We've been on quite a journey exploring Shelob.
We have.
From primordial beings to those chilling eyes Tolkien describes.
Oh, yeah.
It's been quite the deep dive into darkness.
It really highlights the complexity of Tolkien's world.
Right.
We often focus on the big battles, the epic struggles, but it's creatures like Shelob that add those layers of depth and nuance to the idea of evil.
It's not just about Sauron and his quest for domination. It's about these more ancient primal forces at play.
Exactly. Shelob represents something that exists outside of the typical good versus evil paradigm.
No.
She's a force of nature.
Right.
Driven by instinct, operating on a level that's far older.
Right.
And in some ways more unsettling than the calculated evil of Sauron.
It's interesting to think about her in the context of other villains in Tolkien's world.
Yeah.
We've talked about Sauron, but what about someone like Morgoth?
Oh.
The first Dark Lord.
All right.
How does Shelob compare to him?
That's a fascinating comparison.
Yeah.
Morgoth, much like Sauron, was driven by a desire for power and control.
Okay.
Albeit on a cosmic scale.
So he represents a more active, deliberate form of evil, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like a malevolent architect trying to reshape reality according to his own twisted vision.
Exactly. But Shelob, she's different.
Yeah.
She's not interested in grand schemes or reshaping the world.
Right.
She's content to exist in her dark corner, preying on those who stumble into her web.
She's almost like a remnant of a bygone age.
Yeah.
A creature that survived from a time when the world was wilder, more dangerous. And in that sense, she represents a kind of evil that's almost beyond our understanding.
Right.
Beyond our ability to control or contain.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
She embodies the darkness.
Yeah.
That's woven into the fabric of existence itself.
Right.
Something that predates even the rise of the Dark Lords.
It's a reminder that even in a world as meticulously crafted as Middle-earth, there are still those wild, untamed elements.
Right.
Those forces that defy categorization or control.
Yeah.
And those forces can be just as terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
If not more so than the more recognizable villains.
It challenges us to consider what it truly means to defeat evil.
Right.
Is it enough to vanquish the Dark Lord?
Yeah.
Or do we also have to contend with these more fundamental primal forces that lurk in the shadows?
It's like thinking you've cleared a forest of all the dangerous predators.
Right.
Only to realize there's something ancient and nameless stirring beneath the roots.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes Tolkien's work so enduring.
Right.
It doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic solutions.
Yeah.
It forces us to grapple with the complexities of good and evil.
Right.
To acknowledge the shadows that exist both within ourselves and in the world around us.
So if we're thinking about Shelob as this embodiment of primal darkness, what can we as readers or viewers take away from her story? What lessons can we learn from this encounter with the ancient, the monstrous, the unknown?
On one level, it's a reminder that evil can take many forms.
Okay.
It's not always about grand schemes or ambitious villains.
Right.
Sometimes it's about those primal urges, those instincts that can overtake us if we're not careful.
It's a call to be vigilant, not just against the obvious threats, but against those darker impulses within ourselves.
Yes.
The temptations to greed, to selfishness.
Right.
To lash out in fear or anger.
Yeah.
Those are the whispers of Shelob in our own hearts.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And just like Frodo and Sam had to rely on their courage, their friendship, and their unwavering hope to escape Shelob's web, we need to cultivate those same qualities within ourselves if we want to navigate the darkness in our own lives.
It's about recognizing that the battle against evil isn't just something that happens out there in the world.
Right.
It's a battle we fight every day within our own hearts.
And sometimes that battle requires us to confront our deepest fears.
Yeah.
To delve into those dark corners of ourselves.
Right.
And emerge stronger, more compassionate, more determined to choose the path of light.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
We started this deep dive talking about a giant spider.
We did.
And we've ended up exploring some pretty profound ideas about the nature of evil, the importance of inner strength, and the enduring power of hope.
It's amazing how a single character, even one as seemingly straightforward as a monstrous spider, can lead us down such fascinating paths of inquiry.
It's a reminder that even in the most familiar stories, there are always hidden depths.
Yeah.
New perspectives waiting to be discovered.
And that's what makes exploring these worlds so rewarding.
Right.
There's always something new to learn, something that challenges our assumptions.
Yeah.
And deepens our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Shelob.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the darker corners of Tolkien's imagination.
We hope you've enjoyed this exploration.
We hope you've enjoyed it.
And that it sparked some new insights and perhaps even a few chills along the way.
And remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones that force us to confront our own inner darkness. Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
keep diving,
and keep diving deep.